Right, so tonight's plantings, which are yet again double, are ones that I'd hope to be a little bit simpler than they are, but they're both relatively simple and straightforward. The first one is a type of tree that I have somewhat neglected, fairly unintentionally, because this is a fruit that I do quite like. It's quite fiddly, and they do have a sort of low tendency to self-seed here. So we do have a few that have self-seeded around, so I hadn't really sort of thought to plant them, but as it's getting hotter, and as they are a very, very tolerant plant that is also quite good for planting in areas which are moderately shaded, and where you don't want too intense a shade, I thought it would be a good day to buy a variety that we definitely don't have growing. So this is the so-called wonderful variety of pomegranate, which I'm realizing now I do not actually know the Latin name of, but that will be up on screen. So these are really good fruits for quite heavy soils here. I don't know how they do in true clay, but in our more compacted sands here, they are much more tolerant than a lot of trees of both waterlogging and of drying out, and that sort of almost anaerobic state that the soil sometimes gets when it's really, really dense. These do very well. They do sometimes sort of play dead for a few months at a time without any apparent reason, and not all sort of synchronized, so it doesn't seem to be entirely seasonal. Generally speaking, pomegranates are really good and really hardy, and I was actually looking at the prickly pears on the sunrise side of the sycamore fig the other day and thinking there is a spot that pomegranate would go in. So when I saw one for sale relatively cheaply, I thought, well, yes, I'll get this variety I have not had, which I'm told is a very pleasant variety, and I will plant that there. Now, these are very hardy trees, so it doesn't really need much in the way of companion plants, but it's always nice to have a bit of ground cover, so we're going to be giving it a couple of pieces of aloe arborescens and a few pieces of the Kalanchoe pinnata, which should spread out, form a nice little succulent thicket around the base of it. For part 2, we're going to be returning to where I planted the soursop yesterday, and we're going to be going about 1.5 meters from the starfruit that I put in about a month ago, I think, which is an area which I have been watering more, and the soil is definitely holding water better, and the starfruit is actually looking pretty good despite the other starfruit that I planted as part of this year's plantings drying out quite a lot while I was away. This one seems to have held on to that quite well, so I think it was quite a good planting, but I do want a little bit more density in here, and the starfruit won't get that big, so I wanted something that would get a little bit higher, slow the wind movement a bit, and the nursery gave me a free Carpentaria, presumably because I buy so many. And because this is an area that I have already planted, it doesn't really need much in the way of companion plants, but I'm going to be adding some Sansevieria parvas because I think they'd be a nice addition to this area, and they should cope well with the sort of density I want here in the long term. I'm also going to be putting some Dracaena reflexa, which will be a nice little thicket around the base of this when it's coming up, but I'll probably end up removing them, sort of propagating them away once it's well established and once they get a little bit bigger. So that should be everything for tonight, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and if you haven't enjoyed it, thank you for watching anyway. Please tune in again tomorrow because I will be planting something else. It will not be wholly the same, but there might be a bit of a recurring theme there.